What's going on, guys? So, Allure soloing stage 25 of Fireknight. This should be very, very consistent. The only times it should fail is if one of two things happen. If you get very unlucky with landing the leeches, which I'll go over how that all happens in just a little while. If you just don't heal, they hit pretty hard, somehow they're not controlled, or if a Gnarlhorn gets this unkillable and it doesn't fall off. For some reason, Plarium thinks it's funny to add unkillable and block damage champions into things like faction wars as well as random dungeon content. I don't know why they do that. I think it's a terrible idea, but they do in fact do it. Now, in this example here, we're not getting a ton of the leeches up, unfortunately, but you can see that the unkillable did fall off. And so far, I've not been stopped at all by an unkillable staying up. Because I'm using the A2 and the A3 of Allure, she's cycling through everything fine and making it work no problem. Now, you could see there she got a little bit low in HP, so there are some situations where she may die because of one of their hits. That's an easy problem to fix. You just drop some of the attack, put a little bit more survivability on her, and it's really going to be fine. But as long as she's prioritizing that AoE skill there, placing the leech on everybody, placing the sleep, controlling them very well, she's going to get plenty of heals. And you can see her HP is pretty low. Like when she's hit, it's not going to be for very much. Even at +4 6-star blessing, she still does not have a whole lot of survivability. 14,000 HP basically took her halfway almost. So she's probably sitting around 30 or 40. I don't even know what her HP is, honestly. But that's not the biggest focus of this strategy. You could go more HP, you could go more speed, you could go all this stuff, and you could cut back on some of the damage. It's going to make your run times longer, but I'll go over all the builds, all the stuff that I'm looking for when building this champion, and the single thing that made me realize, wait, I think Allure can actually do this if this one situation happens, which you're going to see in just a moment. Right there, it's not going to work. We can't do the Fireknight the first go-around, but when he does that swing, that counterattack is what sets this all up for success. Because he has 12 stacks of the shield, her A1 is a triple hitter. So if we get 3 turns before he does, that's 3, 6, 9, fast math, I know, and that's not 12. That's not reducing any of the turn meter. However, if you stack 2 things, this works perfect. Those 2 things are Phantom Touch. It doesn't have to be 6-star, but 6-star is going to be 100% extra damage every time. So we're going to get 1 extra hit. And if you have that counterattack is going to give you an initial 4 hits, essentially. And then you do another 4 hits and another 4 hits. And the next ones, which would be your 4th turn in that Fireknight's sequence after that first slam, those last hits, the last 3, are all going to be reducing the Fireknight's turn meter. So if you were to only have, say, 3 or 4-star stack of Phantom Touch, that really should be fine. Obviously, the higher the stacks, the better, because it's going to be more consistent with the multiple hits against the shield. So how Phantom Touch works is 100% chance of inflicting bonus damage, 35% chance of inflicting a second instance of bonus damage. We only care about the first instance, really, because as long as you're getting the counterattack, and at least getting 1 extra instance, you're going to be fine. So say you just did the counterattack, you had no Phantom Touch, 6-star, you're going to get 12 stacks there. So as long as you get 1 hit, ideally 2, possibly even 3 hits of Phantom Touch, you're going to be good. I think 2 is probably the sweet spot, because that's going to allow you to get 2 turn meter reductions sunk in versus the boss. And if you're going fast enough, you should be able to get back around, because you're going 3 to 1 from the boss's speed, which is going to be just over 300 speed. Now, if we look at Allure's kit, there's some other things you have to be mindful of. 1, her A1 skill requires you to have a critical hit. Now, if you're using her only in areas where it's spirit affinity you're going against, you could have 85% crit rate, because you're going to have a built-in 15% versus weak affinity champions. So you could do that. My Allure, I don't have that. I want her to be 100% crit rate all the time. Her A2 skill is an AoE attack, has a 30% chance, she's fully booked up of course, of placing decreased defense for 1 turn, places sleep debuff for 1 turn on targets under decreased defense. So we get the decreased defense up, and then we get the sleep. She needs to be fast so we can cycle back around to that. This is my number 1 priority on both of the waves. I'll show you the presets in just a moment. This A3 skill ignores defense, 30% chance of inflicting a critical hit. I'm not building around that. I wouldn't recommend it either. Also, this skill is mostly there just to not use the A1. You may think using the A1's better, but the issue arises if the Gnarlhorn places unkillable and you're just constantly reducing turn meter. You're just going to be walked away from your PC for a few hours and come back to a 5-hour-long Fireknight fight, which nobody wants to see that, right? There are some ways around that. I'll go over that after we talk about the builds of just the solo Allure. Now, as far as the aura, doesn't do anything here, so it's not a big deal. This is a very, very powerful skill on her A1. For her masteries, this is the next very important part. I'm going to move my big head over. That's the wrong thing I grabbed. Move myself over there. So we have Giant Slayer. Giant Slayer is very powerful. It's going to give us some extra damage. Sometimes, depending on your gear, actually for a lot of you, this is going to be more damage than what your regular hits are doing. I think mine was pretty close, but ultimately, you're going to want Giant Slayer. Giant Slayer is important. Whirlwind of Death is very important to push your speed higher, assuming you're not just naturally geared 300 plus speed for your allure. The Life Drinker Mastery is very important. Honestly, Cycle of Violence is useless, basically. I should probably switch this to bring it down, but I've already spent the 300 or the gems for this and the gems for the blessing. I can't spend any more. I'm getting pretty tight over there. But the most important blessing is Harvest Despair. Well, other than, Giant Slayer doing more damage, speeding up the run. Actually, no, there's two very important blessings. It's going to be Harvest Despair and Retribution. So Harvest Despair is going to give you a chance of placing a leech, which is going to be basically a lifesteal set on the enemies. Every time you hit them, you're getting healed. Giant Slayer is going to help you heal for more. Having your champion built for damage is also going to help you heal for more. So this, very, very important must-have. This is going to give you that chance to counterattack when you lose 25% or more of your HP from a single enemy skill. That Fireknight, on his big slam, he's going to have one go off. It's not going to be a critical hit, nothing like that. So you should be able to survive that if your allure is built well. This is going to give you that counterattack to start reducing the Fireknight's turn meter. Now, let's talk about the gear. If, for some reason, you don't feel safe just having Retribution, there are some accessories over in the clan shop that you can purchase, and these accessories will give you a chance to counterattack. It could just be any ring, necklace, band, it doesn't matter. Revenge accessories. I don't have any for my allure right now, so she's not wearing any, but that's going to be an extra, 5% chance to counterattack. A little bit more consistent on your runs, but it really won't activate that much, to be honest. The mastery alone should be plenty for you. Now, as far as her actual stats go, I'm going to go to Fireknight's Castle. Honestly, while these stats are high, and they do look maybe intimidating for some players, you could, during this event, now if you're watching this video in the future, this event's not going on, but you could just swap your best nuker gear over to her. You could put Instinct Set. Honestly, the Instinct Set is going to be perfect for her. It's a little bit less defense ignore than Savage, but you get an extra, 12% speed? And speed is super important here. I would 100% drop the crit damage a little bit, drop the attack, drop the accuracy. The accuracy needed is only 225. The Fireknight's accuracy down here is going to be 305, so that's what you would need as far as resistance, 305. But as far as accuracy, his resistance is only 200, so you only need 225 accuracy to land your A1 decrease turn meter. So I can lose some accuracy, that's no problem. Speed, you don't have to have 300 speed before the Fireknight, but by the time you get to the Fireknight, you have to have 300 speed. So for me, I have the Whirlwind of Death Mastery, which is going to cause me to get an extra 18 speed by the time I get to the Fireknight, which is going to put me well over 300 speed, and then I'm looking good. The reason for that 300 speed number is because the Fireknight has a base speed of 100. So honestly, 301, you're going to be good. That's the speed you're looking for by the time you get to the Fireknight. If you wanted to get a little bit more creative with it, you could throw a speed or a champion in the lead spot, whether it's your food champion or a duo champion, and you're going to be fine there. As far as HP, if you want it to be a little bit safer, you could honestly just swap this ring from attack percentage. She doesn't do that much damage anyways. Allure, Raid, let's see. Let's see what her actual multipliers are. She's not doing crazy damage. So you could swap that over for a little bit more HP. It's a 1 multiplier. They're pretty bad multipliers, except for on her A3. But that's no problem at all if you just swap it over. Get her some more HP stacked up so she can actually survive. 40,000 is actually pretty low. And if you want to make it as consistent as possible, it's going to be best to just stack that up a little bit more. You could go Blood Shield as well if you really wanted, but it's not going to do much. We're not doing the mastery with Blood Shield. You have to have Phantom Touch. So these are her pieces. I'll click through everything. She's in Savage. You don't need Savage. You could go any set. Like I said, her multipliers aren't that high. She's not nuking the waves down especially fast. She was doing good in crushing Rend, but I had to take that off of her. So if you wanted to go Instinct, that would be a very good mix between speed and damage. You could go just a speed set. As long as you're placing the leech, you don't need regeneration. As long as you can survive the Fireknight's hit and then go with the A1, you're going to be fine. But the big thing you're sacrificing is speed. You will be a little bit slower if you're not having Savage because you're just not ignoring the defense and not hitting as hard. So if you can fit some kind of defense ignore set on her, Try to get attack where you can, but make sure she's surviving. If you notice she's getting a little bit too close to dying, change it up. So that's what I have set up here. It's the required stats, required masteries, the skill overview, and the relic. The relic that I have currently, you can see, is not leveled up. It could be leveled up. I'm going to use it for food eventually, but let's actually go ahead and level it up one time to 155. I'm not going to invest too heavily into it because I'm really only here for the effect. Wearers instantly heal by 10% when their HP drops below 50%. This just helps her be a little bit more tanky. Do you need this? No. Could you go the doorbell? The death bell? Yeah, you could go the death bell if you wanted. Extra 10% turn meter whenever you place the sleep each turn. Pretty cool. You could go other help with survivability ones. You could even go this finger, royal digit. 20% chance to decrease incoming damage by 10%. Honestly, with relics, I'm not going to give like a solid recommendation because anything, like if you have a decent epic one or anything that's going to help with damage mitigation, that's going to be fine. I wouldn't put a cat's gaze on her by no means. But if you have a low quality relic, golden elixir that you have plenty of and you don't use it on many champions, just throw that on her. She's going to do good. It's going to be perfect for her. You don't need any gemstones. If you have a gemstone you like, throw it on there. It could be helpful. I'm not going to put anything in there though because I just don't want to waste more stuff on her when she's doing it fine as it is. Now, if you cannot reach these stats, say you're having a hard time, you're trying everything, or worst case, possibly, is the Gnarlhorn is getting the unkillable, or you plan to walk away for 8 hours, you're requiring this to be farming the whole time, and if it's not, you're going to be missing out on one of your events. What you can do is you can throw in a champion in this team that ignores unkillable. Now, I don't know if any champions, I can just search to see if they ignore unkillable, but I can tell you right now, this champion right here ignores unkillable, will make your wave clears faster, will die on the Fireknight, and make your run probably a minute plus less. Now, he's not going to survive very well, but a well-built Gimbo is going to do pretty daggone well. Actually, let's go ahead and try that out. So we'll go down here. Gimbo's going to bring a speed aura for the arena, I believe it is, but he's going to ignore unkillable. So if those Gnarlhorns pop up with their unkillable stuff, he's just going to slap them down, basically, if I can keep him surviving. Now, there's other options like Deacon for the extra speed, but you're still running into a similar situation where if the Gnarlhorn does get unkillable, now you're just more likely to keep that unkillable up. You could, if you're running low on speed, you could put a champion in the lead with a speed aura. This is not going to work because it's an arena only, but champion like Deacon could work in that lead spot. A champion like Inquisitor Shamel could even work to reduce the buff duration if they do have unkillable. Any epic champion who has a strip, you only need them for that first wave. If they can strip, they can place block buffs. You have Finax who can place block buffs. All these champions are going to work well. Now, obviously, if they could place unkillable himself, that'd be even better. But Finax is going to be a solid champion. He's going to do good damage. The only reason the Gimbo is here is for that unkillable to deal with that. But you can see he died there pretty easily. So it's not going to be a great example. It's not going to work. This allure is going to be fine. But if I wanted her to, for an epic-only tournament, for example, if I wanted her to run and not have to worry about that unkillable, that's something you could do. Obviously, this did not work out. But if you had a champion who just stripped, let's see, other effects, remove buffs. There we go. Epic champion. This is all you have to do for your stuff. Epic champion who removes buffs. Does Dythe remove buffs? I didn't know that. That's actually awesome. Okay, that's perfect. If you can make him tanky enough, though, he is actually going to be weak affinity, so not a great champion for this. But if you could find a relatively tanky champion, a champion who does a freeze AoE is awesome as well. Removes all buffs, excellent champion. Luria could be very good. Obviously, if you're doing legendaries, you have many more options, but you may just be okay with Allure the way she is for you. You may just be able to throw her in here and not have any bad luck with the whole unkillable stuff. I don't think it's going to happen very often, but it only takes it happening one time when you're away for it to mess up your farming. So while she can do this, I'll show you guys again, it's no problem. Like, she's doing it very smooth. Her presets right now are number 1 priority with that A2 skill, the AoE skill. She got blasted down there. That's actually a decent showcase. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and change her ring to an HP ring or a defense ring. Because apparently during the video is when she likes to fail, which is actually, it's fine. It's fine that she fails during the video. It's actually a good showcase of what could happen. So before doing this, I literally ran it, I believe, 7 to 10 times with 0 fails. So get a little more HP. I wouldn't mind some more defense. Maybe I even swap this banner over to defense or HP or something like that. We lose 5 speed. I can afford the 5 speed loss. Triple HP banner, though that could be good for Commodus, so let's not get too carried away. Allure doesn't need that crazy of gear. We have some HP pieces, HP, or honestly even defense. Both of those could be good. She doesn't need crazy stuff to do very well. This -8 speed, she is going to be not quite enough. This is extra 18 speed. We don't need that. This could be okay. We could swap this over, but to be honest, she was doing very well before surviving anyways. So I can just leave it as it is. We could always swap the relic to something else that's maybe a little bit more tanky as well. But just boosting her HP should allow me to survive these waves, no issue. Like I said, before doing this, I'd done at least 10. I believe it was 7 to 10, maybe more, maybe less. No, definitely not less, but maybe more. And she had no issue surviving. So it's going to be some RNG involved if she gets to sleep over there, unless you just beef her up some more. Beef her up, she's going to be perfect. No issues whatsoever. The Fireknight's not going to kill her. He doesn't hit hard enough to do it. At least from what I've seen, I've never been dropped much below 50% HP, and then she'll pretty quickly get her stuff back. So I'd say 50,000 HP, 3,000 defense, you'd be more than okay. But even 50,000 HP, or say 45,000 HP with 3,000 defense, that should be more than solid as well. So we're moving through this wave. Let's go ahead and get to the Fireknight itself and see how this finally plays out. So I may keep an eye on how this performs and may go in there and glyph up the HP and defense a bit more, because I don't want to fail if I'm doing this. Though also I may be doing the stage 6 with this current event, which I'll talk about that more in a different video. I want to keep this video somewhat just focused on Allure, because 2 months from now or even a week from now, nobody's going to care about the Epic only Fireknight tournament. It's just going to be Allure, Solo, and Fireknight, which is one of the very few champions who can do it. I'm not really sure of anybody else who can do it. Matter of fact, like I said, the only Allure, Solo, and Fireknight was this Allure right here. So if you go to the optimizer and you look up Allure, Solo, and Fireknight, the only one you'll see is mine. Unless some of you guys start testing it, of course. So when we get to the Fireknight, I'll show you guys what's happening there. So you can see, like, we can almost get the shield broken. Like, we reduce some turn meter, but we have to reduce more than that. You also got to be careful, because if you don't have, that's okay. With the Phantom Touch at the 6-star, we're able to keep control of this turn meter like this. But if you start stacking too much defense, the Fireknight's not going to hit hard enough to trigger the counterattack. So if you don't have a high Phantom Touch, then you're definitely going to want that counterattack for sure. Just something to keep in mind there. So you got to keep the balance of good HP, good defense to survive the waves, but not so much the Fireknight's not going to trigger the counterattack. But if you have a Revenge accessory, it's not even going to matter, and you should be fine. With that said, it may have just not proc the 50-50, but we're still okay. Obviously, the high Phantom Touch is just going to be the strongest thing to do here. Let's see if I can find the team that's actually right here. So obviously we have it going. There we go, loading suggestions. Let's see. Okay, it didn't find an Allure team for whatever reason. It has my stuff pulled up. Fireknight normal stage 25. I guess it's just getting a little bit glitchy or something. Either way, guys, let's see. Allure, where are you? She's not there. She's hiding, I guess. Either way, thank you for watching. Best of luck building this team. Hopefully you guys like it. Hopefully you enjoy this stuff. I can do some more soloing content if you want to see it. I would love to do soloing content for hard mode Fireknight, but I think it's probably just Newt going very, very slow. Probably 5 minutes plus on the runs, which I don't like. I'm good with under 3 minutes. That's kind of like my sweet spot, but 5 minutes, that's where it's like, nah, it's just too much. But thank you guys. Appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day, and good luck with the event if you're going for that currently. I'll catch you all on the next one.